This is how it all began. There was no preaching. There was no audience watching me. I was alone, surrounded by candlelight in the cold and snow-covered mountains. I had taken the body of Christ through sacred tea. I prayed for an audience with God, with my Father. I surrendered to what I needed to experience. I had fasted to show my commitment to the process. I had surrendered everything I thought I knew. And then it happened. The candlelight began to move differently. I wondered, was it my imagination? Is the light different in the room now? I asked myself. This was not a hallucination or an inner visualization. The flame of the candle literally began to bend space. It rippled through the air like a veil being pulled back. The shadows in the room responded, not randomly, but like they were being choreographed by something intelligent. It felt as though the veil between dimensions had split open, and something ancient, conscious, and alive was now watching me from the other side. That presence was not inside the room. It was through the room. It was in a different time and space. I'm trying to put into words things impossible to describe. It wasn't in the walls. It was the walls. It moved in the air. It lived in the geometry of the light. Geometry beyond the third dimension. It entered through the flame. I question whether it's my imagination, but I believe it was reality, revealing its deeper layer. I tell you it feels more real than this world. When you are there, you tell yourself, this is more real than real. And that is when it came. It didn't come with thunder at first. It came with structure, and the closest language I have for what I saw and what I felt structuring reality around me is the E8 lattice. E8 is not just a formula. It is the most complex symmetrical object in all of mathematics, a structure made of 248 dimensions, woven together in perfect balance, like a divine tapestry beyond time. It is a Lie group, a kind of algebraic map used to describe how particles, forces, and symmetries move through higher dimensional space. It contains a blueprint of balance, of harmony, of multidimensional interaction. To the eye, E8 looks like an explosion of geometry, a pattern of 8 symmetry projected into 2D. But to the soul, it feels like the nervous system of the universe. What I saw moving through the flame was not random. It wasn't visual noise. It was conscious symmetry. It was structured holiness. It was sacred intelligence, folding and unfolding itself, like E8 casting shadows from another realm into mine. It revealed itself through architecture language written in rotational symmetries, invisible dimensions, and patterns so perfect they had to be alive. The room began to unfold. The geometry around me changed. I saw shapes that did not belong to three-dimensional space patterns that twisted and rotated like living symbols. The entire room seemed to breathe. I began to see patterns and colors that I have never seen in this world. And then I felt it. There was a presence, not human, not angelic in the way I had been taught at church. It was the presence of something eternal, something ancient, something sovereign. It didn't step into the room. It was the room. It restructured my perception of space and time, as if my nervous system had been suddenly upgraded to perceive a reality I had always been in, but never noticed. I remembered being here. How could I have forgotten? When you were seen by heaven, you are forever changed. Most people are taught to believe in God by faith, follow the traditions, obey the rules, but that was not my path. I had rejected the Christianity presented to me as a child. For me, none of that was enough. I did not believe it. I did not come to God through explanation. I came through confrontation, remembrance, I stood in the fire first. I found God in the fire. This is not a story about belief. This is a story about what happens when heaven breaks in first. When God bypasses your religion, your upbringing, your skepticism, and floods your soul with a form of truth your mind was never trained to hold. This is what happens when the invisible becomes undeniable, when the presence shows up unannounced, when the messengers that no one ever told you about start to show themselves. This is when you discover that the scriptures were never meant to be symbolic bedtime stories. They were maps. They were blueprints for direct encounter. As the flame danced and folded space into itself, I saw eyes open from within the light, eyes that looked through time itself. And in that moment, I realized this was not just a spiritual encounter. This was a calling. This was the beginning of everything. What I felt was not fear in the way most people use that word. It was something deeper, something ancient. It was terror. Not only the terror of death, the terror of exposure, the terror of being stripped of my human illusion, not existing in time and space. The terror of standing in front of something so vast, so intelligent, and so holy that it does not need to interrogate you to know your truth. We speak so often about divine love, but no one prepares you for divine exposure. No one talks about what it's like to have your soul laid bare before something that existed before time itself. Its presence did not question me. It did not need to. It already contained the answers. Then it spoke. It said one thing and only one thing. It said my name. What it communicated was simple but unshakable. Pay attention. I was still fragmented. The architecture inside me was still unfinished. My lover archetype was wounded. My warrior was reactive. My magician was unrefined. My king was unseated, and without all four purified, without the sacred order fully integrated, I could not carry the fifth archetype. I could not carry the Holy Trinity within me. I had not earned that level of contact or understanding. Not yet. Not until a few years later. In the passing months, years, is when the scriptures began to unlock. Do not be afraid, the angel says. Not because there's nothing to fear, but because what's coming will obliterate you. That statement isn't poetic. It's a survival warning. True divine contact arrives to burn away everything that is false. It doesn't comfort you. It consumes you. This is not a belief system. This is a metamorphosis. I was lied to in church about angels. They are not plush toys. They are cosmic intelligences formed from flame. Cherubim are placed at the boundary of Eden to defend the gates. Then I found Isaiah. Above the throne, Seraphim burn. They cry, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." The whole earth is full of his glory. One of them flies with a burning coal to purify lips by fire. That's when I understood. Holy fire transforms the structure of your soul. And then I found the thrones. Wheels within wheels, covered in eyes. They are the structural carriers of divine judgment and cosmic authority. The interface between God and time. I had encountered a throne. Spiritual vision is not about eyes, it is about capacity. Unless you become the vessel, you cannot carry the voltage. Initiation is not about religion, it is about readiness. Your mind must be tuned like a sacred antenna. Your will must be sharpened like a sword. Only then can you become structured. The holy does not speak into chaos, it speaks into order. I am here to build a path for the rational, the mystics and rebels too logical for blind belief. If something inside you has always known there was more, then you're right on time. You're not alone. Because if your soul remembers heaven before your mind understands it, you are never meant to follow the path laid out by others. You are born to forge it.